What up, y'all? Today's episode is brought to you by RV Fix. Let's walk through a quick scenario. You're on your RV trip that you've been planning for months and bam, something goes wrong. Slide won't move, fridge quits, the power's out. Now, instead of cracking open a cold one, it's fixing time. Total buzzkill, right? That's where RV Fix comes in. Call 1-844-66-RV-FIX and get connected via video call with a master RV technician. No middlemen, no dealership runaround, just real help, fast. And over 40% of these issues are fixed on the first phone call. If it's more serious, we've got you. We'll order parts and get warranty approval within hours, not weeks. Then we can either ship the parts to you and walk you through the fix on a second video call, send a mobile tech from our 2,000 plus tech network, or have you drop it off at the dealership once everything's ready to roll. And even better, you get to keep your rig during this whole process. No more waiting 4 to 6 weeks for basic repairs. With RV Fix, most shop fixes are done in just 3 days. Skip the stress, call RV Fix, and get back to camping, relaxing, and making memories. Use promo code RVVoice at checkout to get a 60% discount and lock in your price for years to come. Learn more at RVfix.com. Hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. Today we're going to do something a little different. We are talking to a full-timer about their experience RVing with kids. It's a lot of people out there. I think I looked up a statistic today. It's over 42% of RV owners have kids under 18. And I asked for 16, but ChatGPT didn't give me that. They said under 18. So that being said, a lot of people travel with kids. And it's not always the easiest thing because the little ones can be a little bit harder to manage than the teenagers. But the teenagers have their own problems. We all know that. We've all been there. That being said, we are talking to couple, well, actually just one of them, get the better half, some would say, but they've been at it for 4 years almost. In June or July, they have their 4-year nomad anniversary coming. They have 2 kids, 3 years old and 8 years old. So we got a good little mix here. And they've been traveling in a toy hauler with a side patio. They're bougie. So that being said, we are talking to Krista with Happy Healthy Casita, and we're going to talk about RVing with children and how it goes and how we do it and how she makes it happen nicely. Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see you. We haven't seen you since Tampa.
Yeah. Time's flown by. We're still in Florida, actually, getting ready to leave. So, but it's been a few months.
What's the next stop?
We're heading up to, I think, South Carolina next. And then, I don't know, I guess after 4 years, we kind of fly by the seat of our pants a little bit more. So we're figuring it out as we go this year, somewhere up the East Coast.
Perfect. Quick question. Where are you guys from?
We launched from Minnesota, so like the Twin Cities area, actually. So,
Midwesterners.
A little bit different than Florida in the winter, for sure.
Oh yeah. Minnesota, nope. I'll pass.
You get snow, roughly, I would say, like you can get it 8 or 9 months out of the year. So, we're used to.
Yeah, so northern Minnesota is, if Minnesota's state bird wasn't mosquitoes, I'd probably love it a lot more. I very much enjoy the lakes and the trees. Like all of a sudden there's just a random lake here, and the water, you can see 20 to 30 feet deep in a lot of the lakes because it's so clear. I'd love to go down there and like spearfish that way, but waters get chilly. You only get like 2 months of good boating, really, maybe. Just because the water.
Yeah, but you can do all the you can do all the winter stuff though on the frozen lakes, which is fun. So I feel like people up there just embrace it. Yeah, you have to embrace winter up there. So
there's a lot of beer drinking involved in Minnesota. It's true. Yeah. Oh shoot. Anyway, so. This is kind of up your alley. I asked you which one you wanted to talk about. And RVing with kids is what you wanted to talk about because you have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you had the 3-year-old. I'm assuming, sort of, kind of in the midst of starting your RV journey. Yeah. Yeah, we did. So we launched when I was 27 weeks pregnant, and we kind of headed down to Texas, where we knew I had contacted a midwife down there and basically made sure it was okay with her that she took us on and I could deliver my daughter there. And so we kind of bounced around Texas, did some traveling around there, and then kind of hunkered down around when I was 34 weeks pregnant, had my daughter, and then stuck around for about another 6 weeks before we went and launched and really traveled. So this is all she's ever known. I tell people that all the time. And I feel like having a newborn, is beautiful and hard
no matter where you are. So I tell people this all the time, like you could do it in a house, you could do it on a house on wheels, but newborns don't know any different. And so I feel like she's lived the life of adventure from the beginning. And now she's 3, which is crazy to me. And so, yeah, she's kind of like our timeline almost for how long we've been on the road in a sense too.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I went to, not the same, but I used the timeline a little different way. I literally went with the years, like graduating high school. So like I graduated in 2012. So like it was easy for me. Like, oh yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, whatever. Like looking back, it'll be so easy for me to think about.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. Those markers of time are helpful sometimes.
Makes it much easier for remembering things. But that's crazy. So she has no other idea. Do you think, like, question on that, do you think I guess both of them, because the other one was only 5 at the time, so he's kind of just starting memories, right? Do you think that like they're going to be, when they're out of the house or out of the camper RV, if you're depending on what you're doing, that they're going to probably go on the road themselves? Do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We are definitely like supportive of whatever they want to do. I feel like my oldest especially is just, he thrives in being like outside and adventuring and exploring. And so like, I think like this lifestyle, like we all wanted it, but like there was a huge piece of it that like we were really inspired by just who he is as we know him as a kiddo, and like what we thought, the environment we thought he would thrive in. And just how his learning style, is, because he's just a very active learner. And so this is a great way to do that for us to learn all together and like not read about it just in a book, but like be in it, and for him to touch and to see. And so, yeah, it's funny. Like I joke because my daughter sometimes, I mean, again, all she's ever known, but like, it's funny to me sometimes how she'll ask, or we'll be like, we're just going to go, to the beach today. And she'll be like, well, are we going to bring the house? Or, we're gonna, or like sometimes when we go to people's house, she'll be like, oh, can we go back to their rig? It's little things where I don't even realize sometimes like this is just her normal. And so it's just funny, those little nuances that you get where like, I guess as an RV kid, you would ask, are we going to bring the house with today? Like those kids wouldn't ask that question, but that's normal for her. Her house has wheels,
Well, she's never known any different.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. This is, I mean, again, truly, this is all she's known. I mean, she's visited family and friends and houses, but this has been her home since day one.
That's so crazy to me. I want to hit the road, right? I just don't want to, like, I could see myself being turned into a recluse if I did it alone. So we're working on the other part.
Well, there's great community on the road too. That's a huge part.
There is, but it's just easier.
Yeah.
I'd get lonely. I'd just turn into I know how I would be, and I'd just be like a ski bum, basically. That's exactly what I turn into. Wouldn't be all bad, but I do like money. Yeah. I do enjoy money. So, but anyway, so I'm excited to hear more about this, because this is like, I don't really know how I mean, you did it. The fact that you did it with a newborn is even crazier. Like I wouldn't even imagine, I mean, you did it, you've had a newborn in a house and you did the regular life, right? The regular lifestyle. Now you have a newborn in an RV, and that's a whole nother game change, right? Now we're also talking about people just, weekend warrior types. You're a full-time RVer, but weekend warrior types, people that do like longer road trips or just go to the lake on the weekends. How do we go about it? So I'm excited to hear your expertise on this, because you did it, you've done it, you're doing it, right?
Doing it.
Yeah.
Learning something every day. Yeah.
So I guess on the big, so the first one, why RVing with kids is a great family adventure, right? You're obviously making it your life adventure, right, to do so. So first question on this is like, what made you decide to start RVing with youngins? Right? Like what was the big decision there? Because it's kind of a big decision when you don't have a stable, I guess, even community, because, it takes a village, right? They say the old saying, takes a village to raise a child, right? Well, you guys are taking that. You guys have a community. Obviously, I know you have a lot of friends within the RV community, but you're not in the same place at all times. So what was the big decision that we should do this for our kids and our family?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had heard of other like full-time RVers. We love the prospect of it. This was kind of during the pandemic, like our jobs went remote. You know, I feel like it's kind of a similar story for a lot of people that launched during that time. And we were also kind of navigating a little bit of an infertility journey with my daughter. And so we were kind of like lonely in a lot of ways, just going through a lot of stuff with the pandemic and that. And I feel like, so we decided to get a travel trailer. We didn't think we'd launch fully into full time yet because we were still kind of navigating some of that, but we got a smaller travel trailer and we just decided to do like weekends away. And we found it to be like really our happy place. Like I said, like we were already like going out and hiking as a family. Like Minnesota has lots of great hiking trails, summer, winter. Like my kiddo was actually in nature preschool at the time. And so like he was used to being outside in all sorts of weather. Like it was just fantastic. So we would go out all the time. And like we just found, especially during that time, like nature was like our sanity saver. And so then we got the travel trailer and we started taking little trips to like, we went to like hip camps and like farms and like that's really our jam. And so we love that. We love meeting people that way. We love talking to just like local families and like learning, you know, what they do and, you know, about their life on the farm or like whatever their business was. And just those getaways were like life-giving to us at that time, feeling so cooped up from everything. And so we kind of started talking about, could we make this work as a full-time gig? We finally got pregnant in February of 2021. And it just, even though we were pregnant, we kind of felt like, gosh, we finally, like our family's finally coming, you know, together, like this way that we had been praying for. And at first we were like, is it crazy that like now we want a full-time, maybe even more? Like we really want this for us. Like, let's just keep this amazing momentum going. I don't know. But like, I think for a while we're like, this is absolutely crazy. We just got pregnant. We can't leave. But then at the same token, we were like, well, if we don't go now, when we have these remote jobs and all these things, like, will we ever do it? Will we ever be able to do it? And so I think we just kind of bit the bullet and we're like, you know what, let's try. Like this seems to be like our happy place. We were a family that like, we couldn't really, like we would take maybe a trip a year. That was all we could really like afford in the budget. And then oftentimes it was like to go see family, like family in Texas, family here. And so for us, we're like, we're not going to be able to go see all of these places for us and our kids unless we try this. And so we basically decided like, it was kind of like, we got to do it now or we don't know if we'll be able to do it because the housing market was fantastic at that time. We were going to have a baby in October. And so if we waited until after our daughter was born, it's really hard to launch and sell a house in Minnesota in like January, and like leaving an RV. So we were like, so we were like, okay, we either do it now or we might have to wait a year. And are we going to have remote jobs in here? We just didn't know, you know? And so I feel like we kind of were like, okay, we got a couple months before I'm like too pregnant to maybe like go. And so we literally like pulled it all together in a couple months, like got the truck, got the RV, sold the house. It was a whirlwind. I look back and I'm like, I do not know how I did that in like my second trimester of pregnancy, basically. But like, we did it. We moved and grooved and it was real rough at first. I remember like getting down to Texas and like not figuring, I couldn't even like light my oven and I was just super pregnant and being like, what did we do? Like, I don't know anybody here. I'm probably super hormonal. Like, I can't even light this oven. Like, we just had stuff in boxes, you know, like it was a mess at first, but slowly but surely, I mean, it feels like home, you know? So it was kind of like half-ish plan, but a lot of it was just like, we're taking a leap of faith. Like, we feel like this is something we, you know, want to try. And like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, we don't like it and we go back to a house. But like, we got to try it. Yeah. So here we are, almost 4 years later.
Wonderful. And you've been crushing it so far. I mean, it's obviously it doesn't seem like you plan on stopping anytime soon. Yeah.
We don't know. We went into it without a plan. You know, some people will say like, we're going to do it for a year. We kind of went into it like, maybe we'll see where we love or whatever it is. But I think that has been almost a beautiful thing for us. It's like, we never had a timeline on it. There was never pressure on it to stay doing it or not. And I think, you know, the more we've traveled, the more we've fallen in love, not only with the lifestyle, but realized there's so many more places to see. And so for now, we're just going to keep going as long as it seems like it makes the best sense for our family.
Awesome. So when you guys were going through this decision-making period to, you know, go into the full-time life, what was the I mean, what were some of the biggest concerns of like, I mean, obviously you were pregnant, pretty pregnant at the time, right? What was like some of the other biggest concerns, when hitting the roads, considering the kiddos?
Yeah. Okay. So one of my number one concerns, because my oldest was 5, and obviously I was going to have another child, but she wasn't in the world yet. And even when she came into the world, it wasn't like he was going to have an instant playmate in a newborn, was making sure, like, we had great community in Minnesota. And so that was the biggest concern I had, and something I launched into a lot and tried to figure out before we left was like, how do we build community? I knew that was going to be like a huge piece for us making it on the road, and a huge piece for my social son. And so that was something I really focused on from the get-go, was like, how do we build community and ensure like this is just a key piece of like our life, just as it was, it looks different, but just as it was when we lived in a house. And then other things that are just kind of important values to just who we are as a family. They seem like maybe smaller things, but like for us, we do a lot of like cooking and meal planning. We're very holistic minded. So like clean nutrition and things like that were big for not only me, but for my kids. And so making sure that was a priority on the road and seeing like, how do people make that work? How could we make that work? Because we might end up in places that are food deserts and things like that. So like, how do I ensure, that is still a priority for us? And then even simple things like we loved going to the library every week. So could we still go to the library on the road? We could bring books with us, but like, was that something that we could still do? How can I figure that out to make sure we're bringing new books into our home? Because my kids love sitting, in our laps and reading. So there was a lot of just different pieces that I really tried to look at as much as I could before we hit the road, but then also figured out along the way.
I never thought about the whole food desert thing. I'm very much a clean eater myself. I'm one of those people that reads labels. If it's not in the produce or the meat section, I'm probably not buying it unless it's protein packed. Like I'll do protein bars every once in a while. I did today. Mm-hmm. I had to pack up on some snacks, right? But like I'm very, like you said, more holistic, more natural foods. I'm so interesting as in like buying for kids, because one, there's like, the kid aisle or the whatever, everything for baby food type stuff. That makes it really tough. So I can see that being a big concern. The library's on the road. I mean, is there a question for you on that? Is there like make yourself comfortable.
No, you're fine. I'm finding a computer cord. It's about to die.
Is there like, since you brought up libraries, is there like a national library card?
There is not. I wish there was, but to fill you in, because I've done a lot of research on this and we've used library cards along the way. Let me plug this in. Actually often, if we're at a place for at least like 2 weeks, I'll try and see if I can get a library card. Some places will give you a library card with your RV park address. Some places will give you a library card, even just with like your ID. Like I've given them my ID, not even for the same state, and they were willing to give me a library card. Some places will allow you to like get a temporary one for like $10 to $15 for a month. And so it just depends, but most places, I would say more than not, allow us to get a card while we're there and check out books. And so we try and make that like a priority, and then we'll go. I mean, even if I have to pay $10, if we're there for 2 or 3 weeks, we get to go 2 to 3 times. For us, that's worth it, because I can get like 20 to 30 picture books or, a chapter book that my kiddo can read or whatever, for the week. And I'm like, well, that's worth it to us, because we can only store so many books in our rig. And usually those libraries have books often tied to the place that we're in. And so that's a beautiful thing too, because, when we were just in the Keys, for instance, there were so many books about like marine life and all of these things that like, then it just helped us better tap into the place that we were at as well. So I always tell people like, it's a total possibility on the road. And I don't think people often realize that, but we tap into the libraries all the time. Not to mention you can tap into their programs too, that maybe you would have done, for the whole family, when you were in your sticks and bricks. So.
Interesting. Yeah. Never thought about that. I mean, there's obviously like Kindles and other things like that, but actually like picture books, children, like I never really thought about how to like keep them entertained in a different way, but we're actually going to talk about that, keeping entertained later. So we'll come back to that. But let's talk about preparing for the road itself, like packing essentials. How do you go about talking about food here? We were just talking about that. How do you what are snacks and stuff to do? how do you do that part? And then obviously clothes, a little bit of entertainment, and like safety gear for children. So kind of start with food. How do you go about feeding your children on the road? It's a little different, than adult food. So how do you go about that?
Might need you to repeat that. It said connection lost.
Uh-oh.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay.
Maybe tell me the nutshell.
Okay.
You're back.
Quick nutshell. We were just talking about food. We're talking about packing for food. How do you go about that for children on the road?
Yeah. So travel days. So bring all the snacks. Honestly, that's like what gets us through most travel days for sure. I would say that's like my number one recommendation is just make sure you have enough snacks. Because also you never know, like sometimes there's hangups. And so I have had times and I've learned from it where I haven't packed extra snacks and then I regretted it. I mean, you can pop in your rig, but with like a big rig, sometimes there's not always a place to like easily pull over. So if you have a smaller rig, yes, but like we can't just pull into any parking lot and like get into our rig. And so for us, like just making sure I've packed enough snacks, that's key. Also like packing lunches. We aren't people that necessarily like, we don't go really to like fast food places anyways, but you also can't take a big rig through like, a McDonald's drive-through. And so, we always pack lunches for our kids. Some people, will pull over, take a break and like pack, make lunches in their rig. We could do that too. We're usually kind of the people that it seems to entertain our kids to eat in the car. And then we can kind of keep moseying on and just get to our destination, whichever way you want to work it, just make sure you have a plan. And then for my kids too, like they love that they get like a little special treat on travel days. It just makes it fun. And so we do just like those little Yum Earth lollipops. They love those. And so on travel days, it's the only day they get them. And they always bring them with, they get to pick their flavor and then they get one lollipop. And it's just like a special little travel day, like tradition that we have that they're used to, that just adds a little bit of like, fun, if you will, and the snack department to it.
Yum
so that's
Earth,
what I think for food. Yes.
Yeah. So what about packing clothes wise? You got a young one, so I don't know if she's still diaper age or not. But like clothes wise, how do you go about that? We'll talk about entertainment later, so we're not going to talk there. But clothes wise, do you pack separate? Like, cause you're traveling, you guys travel for usually a day, 8 hours, maybe tops.
No, usually not even. We'll go like 4. We usually do like 4 tops in a day. If it's an 8-hour drive, we usually divide it into 2 days. That would be a tip I have as well, at least for our family, because we travel regularly. I think if we were like we were like just trying to get to a destination and we were going on a week trip or whatever, but because this is our life, we usually will break up drives and only do about, I would say like 4 hours or like 300 miles at a time with our kids. And then we'll do a stop where we can like get out, stretch, they can play, we can do an overnight and then feel a little bit rested before we go into another 4 hours. And I've heard a lot of families, at least full-time families on the road say that. Like I said, it might be different if your kids are a little bit older, and or you were just, traveling for a shorter stint and you really wanted to make the most of it. But as a lifestyle, that's kind of how we do it. But each family has to figure out what works best for them as well.
Perfect. So what are like 3 must brings? You talked about the Yum, talked about food, but what are 3 must bring items that like other than that you have to have when you're traveling for the kiddos?
Okay. Well, you talked about clothes, so I'll try and tap into that first too. So don't forget, but I mean, most of our stuff is obviously just in our rig. I would just say for clothes, with a little one, I usually bring a change of clothes. Like an extra pair of like underwear just because we're in potty training season. We also have a travel potty. Highly recommend. Okay, so if you have a toddler, it is a little potty that you can put disposable bags in. So if we have to just pull over like on the side of the road anywhere, then she can pee into it. It goes into the bag and then you can dispose of it. And so that is a big one, I think, for littles, especially that are like in the potty training phase. Other than that, like must have for travel day. There's so many. I actually just did a whole post on like 50 travel day activities, that we either use or I gathered from my community, because we like to just kind of have an ongoing like list of ideas, I guess. Like, just for us, for me to refer back to in case my kids I'm like, they're kind of bored with what we're doing. But I would say for us, the biggies are, we like to have like podcasts, audiobooks, things like that available. We don't do screens on our travel days. It's not that we're necessarily against it.
You said podcast, so I'm like,
yes, RV
my
Boys,
podcast.
I see it. Yep. I love to listen. Yes, for sure. So I love to listen to RV Voice on my own accord as well.
Thank you.
But yes, but yeah, so we like to listen to podcasts. There's a ton of just kid-friendly ones out there. We love to do audiobooks. So we've worked our way through several series as like a family, like The Wild Robot or Chronicles of Narnia, that take a lot of time to get through. My oldest especially gets into that.
There's a Narnia podcast?
Not podcast, but audiobooks. Maybe there's a podcast. Yeah. But yeah, so we love doing a lot of that. Cause like I said, we're not big, we don't really do screens. We haven't found that our kids have needed it. And so we're kind of that family that unless we just don't feel the need to introduce it if we haven't found the need for it. And then I would say in addition to that, our daughter has a little device called a Yodo. It's like a little player that you can just stick cards in, and it actually is like either audiobooks or like nonfiction text or even music, and she can kind of control her own music. It just has 2 buttons on it. It's really basic. It just has little cards that kids love, and then she can put her headphones.
Skipped out on me. Uh-oh. You skipped out just a little bit. So you skipped out going, okay. We were talking about skipping songs. That was where you stopped.
Yeah, so she has the Yodo, and I was just saying, she can listen to it with her own headphones if she wants to, do kind of her own thing and doesn't necessarily need to listen to what we're chatting about or what's in the car. As far as other things to bring, we have a backseat organizer, and we just put all of the things in there. So our kids have little drawing tablets that they use. We've got maybe it's a lot of stuff I even used as a kid, when we went on road trips. Etch-a-Sketch, Mad Libs, sticker books, markers and, coloring books, all of that stuff, even picture books, my kids will sit and just enjoy them. I feel like if they're available to them, they will use them. And my son actually is at an age where he just likes to chat with us in the car. I think people underestimate too, just that silence and what it can do for building conversation with your kids. And he loves to talk to dad in the car. While dad's driving, they have the best father-son conversations because they'll just, turn the music down, whatever. And there's no distractions really. And so I think, that can sometimes be underestimated. It's it's
You skipped out just a little bit there. You were talking about the boys talking, chatting back and forth. It made me think about riding back and forth. I road trip with my dad all the time, and I just it brought me back.
Yeah. It's a special time with them sometimes. Not to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have rough moments. We have 2 kiddos in the backseat, so they're siblings, it gets rough. We have, we've had some long travel days, but all that to say, I feel our kids are used to it at this point, and we've tried to infuse all the different tricks of the trade to make sure they're comfortable and they are entertained to an extent, but also I feel they've just found creative ways to entertain themselves sometimes as well, and it's just become part of their normal.
Yeah, definitely. You brought up the little RV an organizer for the back seat. Now, a question for you: how do you, keeping the RV itself organized, because of the kiddos, right? That's totally, you guys, you're still in toy stage for quite a bit yet.
Yeah.
So what's some best tips of keeping the RV itself organized with the kiddos?
1 in, 1 out is honestly a really good rule of thumb. So if my kids are bringing a toy in, especially before holidays and things, then we are donating before that happens. Just because it can get really overwhelming really fast. And so we try to kind of have that rule of something's coming in, something's going out. Lots of like organizers, under the bed organizers, whatever, cubbies, all the things. Our kids actually have the master bedroom, and we took the garage. So we kind of revamped that. They've got bunks in there. And so we just kind of have, I don't know, dressers and organizers all over the place. But really the biggest thing is just not letting the toys get too overwhelming. We do keep one bin of kid stuff up in our attic spot. And so we do that so that we can rotate our kids' toys every once in a while, so they feel fresh and new. So we like save a couple up there, and then every once in a while we'll take it down and then put new toys in the room and kind of put them up. Just so we have a little bit of an extra stash. But really, our kids, most of the time, they just spend time outside playing in the dirt and like sticks. Like that's more fun to them most of the time than like sitting in the room playing with anything we've purchased for them.
Oh, you skipped out just a little bit there. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I never thought about that. Like rotating them out, tricking their brains a little bit. Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah, that's what it is. They get like really excited about it, play with it right away, usually when you get it down. So it feels new again.
Yeah. Oh, it's brand new again.
Yeah. It was already there.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate that. So keeping the kids entertained in general while on the road, you did talk about your Yodo. You did talk about, audio books, either podcasts for kids as well. So there's a lot of that. Do you guys have any like specific, I remember as a kid, windmill game or the like slug bug or, playing the ABC game as in like whatever you see on the road, Amazon truck, you see a whatever, what would be the Burger King, let's like, play that game. Is there anything that you guys do like that? Or I know you talked about, the boys kind of have their conversations. Obviously you're young and still kind of young. She's still learning words, trying to form full functioning sentences, but anything you guys do like that or no?
Yeah. So, as of lately, because we kind of cycle through them, but our favorites we've been really into Would You Rather lately. So you can look up some family friendly, like Would You Rathers online. I found like 300 questions, but my boys are also their minds are very creative. Like they will come up with the strangest Would You Rathers, and it's like a part of the game to them. So we did that we've done that for a couple of trips lately. We do like kind of a version of almost like, I don't know if it's like 20 questions, but like where you think of an item and then we have to try and like answer yes or no questions. That person has to answer yes or no questions to figure out what it is. And so that's been it. My son loves that one. And then sometimes honestly, like he'll just invent games. It goes back to, again, if you give him that space to be creative, they will. And like he'll occasionally just like bring Uno cards in the car. And it's like, well, buddy, it's a little tough to play Uno while we're driving. But he'll just take out the cards and be like, okay, you have to guess. Mom, your turn. What color is it? What number is it? Like if you guess the number or the color, you get the card. And then Dad, you have to guess. And then whoever gets the most cards wins. And so I feel like sometimes it just comes down to like, he'll invent things. And we just give him the space to do that. And those become games that we end up playing too. So sometimes the best things just come out of like boredom, to be honest.
That's awesome. Got a good little head on him, huh? He's got a good little brain.
Yes, he's very.
You can consider this is one that it's fun. There's two ways to look at this. You can have a full-on conversation, but let's do you can do the ABC sentence. So like you'd start with A, you say a word, whatever starts with A, and then hubby says something with B, and then kiddo 1 says something with C, and then kiddo 3 maybe if she knows how the D, and then go around again, and then you make a whole sentence out of the A to Z. Yeah. But there's also like a conversation.
I like that.
You can do a sentence per. So like A is the first sentence. So you have to start the sentence with A, and the next one would be B, obviously, and then same thing. So it'd be like sentence reply, sentence reply, sentence reply.
Ooh. It's a good one for building conversation skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's so many ways to go about it. We've done something similar too with like stories. Like someone starts once upon a time, starts the story, and then you have to add on, right? And then you can like give it to the next person. They have to keep adding on to the story until it gets to the conclusion. So I know there's so many like just cool different things out there that either people have created or you just kind of create as you go, to get through the drive.
Yeah. And boredom, a lot of creativity is spawned in boredom, right? And we have I guess 100%. The US has a very big problem of letting themselves be bored. We're very consumerism. We're very, how do you say that? We're just instant gratification people. This is how we are, right? We can buy anything within seconds, have it at our door by the time we show up from work, whatever that may be. So like being a kid, you can still kind of be bored as a kid because you don't really know the difference of life. And then, creativity spawns and a lot of that. So very cool, very enjoyable. Question about, 100%. How do you make road trips like educational and fun? I mean, educationally fun, if that makes sense. Like, do you guys have I know you kind of go to places to let's go out in this nature and learn. A lot of people do that with homeschooling or road schooling, whatever it may be. But how do you guys do it? Do you guys say, hey, we're going 4 hours, but in an hour and a half, we're stopping at this X monument or a kids museum or whatever it may be? Do you guys do stuff like that?
I mean, that would be nice. But again, with a toy hauler, it's kind of hard. I always tell my husband, I'm secretly jealous of the van lifers sometimes, where you can just zip into wherever you want and the side attraction, right? Because there's so many things we pass where I'm I want to go to that, but it just isn't possible. Oftentimes, A, because we have a toy hauler, but B, because if we stopped at all the things we wanted to, we also want to make sure we're big at getting to our destination as early as possible, honestly. So we can keep that schedule that day for our kids and make dinner, get it on the table, get organized, get them to bed on time, especially after a long day. And we never want to arrive at dark. So a lot of the time, on the road, it's more hey, did you see that? Things like that. But we don't do a lot of stops on travel days unless we're strategic and there's something we really want to see, then we'll stop night and maybe stay the night, harvest hosts and things like that, to where that certainly can be educational. I remember we've done harvest hosts where I got horseback riding lessons and the kids watched, or they've stopped at farms where they've learned how to feed these animals and watched people build different things. And that's been really cool. But I would say more of our stuff happens once we've arrived at our destination, versus specifically that travel day, at least for us, just because of our size and usually wanting to get somewhere and get just settled on a decent timeline.
So here's something really cool. It kind of re-sparked my interest, because of this question. You know who Kevin Costner is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, he's Yellowstone guy, whatever. He started, or at least a spokesperson for this company, and I think it's called Audio, actually, with a T. Let me double check here.
Okay.
But what it is basically, it's a road trip audio book, sort of.
Okay.
And it tells you about places that you're driving through. So say you're driving through.
It's kind of like the national park one.
Sure. I don't know. I've never heard of that one, but it's I would assume it's very similar, but it tells you about a small town anywhere, right? It could say, this small town in South Carolina is where this famous person was born, and they did this, why, whatever it may be. And there's more to it than just that. But I was like, man, I would like to listen to that, because I think that'd be really cool for, folks like yourselves, because you guys travel all over the US. Plus I'd love to have them on the podcast a little bit. That'd be kind of cool too. But I just, as I was thinking about that, I was like, that'd be kind of interesting, because it'd be semi-educational, right? Just it's always fun to have a little bit of a,
totally,
I know this about this.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Audio is what you said, right? AUTIO.
It's audio with the T. Same thing. Yep.
Okay.
3850.
I love that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of a fun way to kind of implement something else. So that'd be the kind of creative idea. And you guys seem like you're really good about all that. So I think you guys would have a fun time with something like that. And I wonder if it's it'd be kind of cool if it was Kevin Costner saying all of it. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think my husband would dig that for sure.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know if my 8-year-old would be as wowed by Kevin Costner, but my husband probably would be more excited.
Well, you never know. You might catch something kind of cool. This is where Dairy Queen started. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the facts he'd probably be into. Yeah.
Just something a little different. I've always wanted to try it out, but I hate paying for apps because I end up not using them. Like the only app that I pay for is Headway. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it's like summaries of books. So I can kind of micro learn as I go.
Yeah.
I love that because a lot of times I'm when I'm reading a book, I'm like, come on, just get to the point. What's the spark notes? I need it. Okay, sweet. I can implement that real quick. But yeah, so cool. Very much cool. Go. So you guys talked about a little bit, you talked about the little kiddos in the back. You've had some, horrible travel days. Mm-hmm. You've had some great travel days, I'm sure, as well. Fun ones. You get the good and the bad. Their siblings, our siblings. Oh man, I remember. Yeah, the hand going like this, driving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember that. And I was a little sweet one.
Every parent knows. I'm sure.
I was the sweet kid, and I had 2 older sisters that were not very kind to me or each other. And I just remember, it was mom coming with the finger, and dad So keeping harmony on the road. Let's how do you balance that a little bit? It's there's keeping them distracted, giving them a Yoda, giving them whatever games they want to play, but how do you balance a little bit of routine but also flexibility within all that? Because you got to fly by the seat of your pants a little bit with children at 3 and 8 years old.
Okay, I heard, how do you keep routine but flexibility? And then I missed the last part.
It's kind of hard for you in your situation specifically. I mean, just to get with kids in general, but you have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. So how do you kind of balance it all?
On travel days specifically?
Yes. And then we'll get into.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gosh, that's a good question. Snacks. No, I feel but truly, I feel like we try and ration, I don't want to say it that way, but we try and ration snacks, I guess, to make sure they last. But if I notice my kids are really hitting a wall, that's honestly usually the best time to be you want a snack? That sometimes resets the tone. Honestly, for us, I notice podcasts and things, honestly, will really reel my oldest in because he just is my listener. And so if it's on, it's his calming place. And so I can at least reel him in with that, and he'll just sit back and relax and enjoy a story. And so it's kind of just knowing each kid and their quirks. And, if we need to stop for a moment, we'll try our best to do that. If we need to be maybe we just got to get here, let's just go and get her done. We'll do that. But I think a lot of it just comes down to again, like I said at the beginning, we usually don't do 8-hour travel days. We just know that's not something that our kids are going to tolerate well. Neither will we. And we usually aren't in a rush. And so I think that's part of it. It's just knowing your kids, what are they going to handle best? Right. And some of it's just trial and error, but we've kind of worked it to a system at some point where we usually know this is going to work for this one. This is going to work for this one. All else fails, we'll toss more snacks back. But also just don't plan for it to be too long and strenuous, or don't plan 4 back-to-back travel days in a row. We've done that. We've had a couple long hauls, and after 3 long travel days, we were what? We never want to do this again. It's too much for kids, unless you're only going to do it, once or twice, because you just have to haul and get there. Yeah. But usually we don't go that far, because we know it doesn't work for us. If it was just Ryan and I, we could go, but with kids, you have to think about that. They just don't, no fault to them, they're little. They don't sometimes tolerate some of that as much as we could as adults, where him and I are this is great. We can just have one-on-one uninterrupted conversation, but it's not the same for them.
No, it's not. It's there's some horror stories from being, traveling with my sisters. I think there'd still be some horror. If we try it again now, I think we'd still have problems.
That would be interesting. You should try it. My husband has 2 older sisters too, so I'm sure he can resonate.
Yeah, definitely. They were. I I would put money on it that my two older sisters were tougher than two older brothers would have been. Like, not a doubt in my mind. Two older brothers.
I feel like I have the flip flop with my kids. So
my two older brothers.
We've got the older brother and the younger
sister been a breeze. Anyway, so what
would have been a wild backseat.
yeah, that's for sure. What about like not on the road? So how do you keep like harmony within within the RV on stays?
Yeah. So, okay. So I would say number one for us is really balancing time as a family unit with community. My kids are both very social. They thrive when other kids are around.
Ooh.
And so we've really been strategic with making sure, like if we are just a family unit for too long without them having those opportunities, we can tell. Like they have to have, their community, and so do we as adults even. And so we've been really strategic about that, like I said before, since from day one in building that community. And I think for us too, like our kids have gotten really good at walking up to a kid at the playground. I recognize that gets a little trickier as they get older, but in just being like, hey, you want to play? Like they will make friends with anyone. But at the same time, we've made it a priority to reconnect with families. And I think this is key, that we have built relationships with and really enjoy spending time with time and again. So our kids also have lasting relationships, because it's hard to constantly say hello and see you later, or hello and goodbye, but if they can have those opportunities, like we've caravaned with families all the way up the East Coast before. We have families where like we see them, every couple of weeks, or we bop in as much as we can, or we just make plans to see each other again. And so for our kids to also have those opportunities to have those lasting relationships, and they don't have to come in and feel like they're constantly trying to figure a new kid out. I just think it's really important on the road. And so a balance of both, as well as just that intimate family time, because we can go some places where like I feel like I haven't seen my oldest all day. He's just out, he's going, he is with his friends, he's on a mission, he's Pokemoning, whatever he's doing. And so also just finding that balance of like, okay, but we want to see you too. Like that's also why we did this. But yeah, I think that's huge. Also just remembering like you're in a small space. So like this is our home, but at the same time, like I'm probably not going to treat it like a 2,000 square foot house. Like everybody can be in a different room. Like sometimes it feels like we're on top of each other. Like, and so just getting outside is like a sanity saver. And so like remembering that and just spending as much time outside as possible. And that was our mission in the first place. Like we knew that was our happy place. And so that was part of like the reason we wanted to do this, is because we wanted to spend that time outside. And I feel like that's where just all of us seem to find our calm. Like we do family walks every day. Like that's a huge part, of our day. And, but we're outside just a ton. I'm trying to think what else. I wrote down some things just to think about, but yeah, I mean, I feel like those are the biggies for us, I would say, are just really that community, recognizing like you're in a small space. And also like, I think here's one I have been thinking more and more about lately, that I would really recommend to people. And I also want to try and take on more myself. But when you live in a tiny space, and especially you're away from family, like we left our family were a couple hours away before, but like they were at least within driving distance. It's hard on a marriage in some respects. It's a beautiful thing, but it's hard because we are always with our kids, right? Like we're with them all the time. And I love that. But also like you don't get breaks sometimes in the same way as maybe you would if you live close to family or wherever. And so one of the things like my husband and I actually recently did was I asked my mom to fly down, and she came and like hung out at our rig for 2 days. My husband and I could do a getaway. So if you have that option, like to tap into family, do it. But also like, if not, like we've been trying more and more, and we've also had wonderful friends who've done the same, just to offer like, hey, we're friends. Can we watch your kids so you can go out to dinner? Or like vice versa. And like just using that community around you that you've built, just like you would have in a sticks and bricks, right? But like to make sure that you're taking care of your needs as like a married couple as well, seeing that like we're always with our kids, and it's a beautiful thing, but like our kids also need us to be like strong parents and have a strong marriage. And so I think that's something we're really focusing on too this year as like a couple, is just trying to do that more for other families on the road as part of the community, but also more for ourselves.
Most definitely. That's been brought up in conversation with other full-timer guests that I've had on, because they never stop dating each other comes into comes into play, right? But like when you have X amount of responsibilities, you're still working, you're still doing everything, you're and then you're taking care of the kids, and then you're traveling with the kids, and like the kids are never there. They're your little shadows, right? Well, alone time doesn't really exist, But even so in a house, it's the same idea, right? Because, you guys, typically people work at separate places. They come in, come back home, and then they have all their other responsibilities with the children. It's just, it's hard on a marriage either way, I'm sure. Can't speak specifically for me. So, but yeah, it's the never stop dating each other, figuring out how to friends, obviously, like you said, offering up to friends within your community. That's an awesome thing to do as well. Mm-hmm. So very, very, very cool. What about movie nights, campfires? Do you guys do a lot of that too? Like, do you guys like cuddle up and like watch a movie together? Do you guys go like, I'm a campfire person. I could literally stare at a fire for hours. I don't know why.
Yeah, mesmerizing.
Like woodwick candles, same thing. I'm just like, man, that is just so interesting. So do you guys do a lot of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we try. I feel like again, going back to the community piece, like we really enjoy just spending time with like the people that we've met. We've met such amazing people on the road, and like, yes, on our own accord, but also I think it brings us together too, to like have that time with other adults just in community and like having in-depth conversations and just doing life together. And I mean, yeah, I enjoy a good campfire. I know my husband does too. We both always leave feeling like uplifted in a way. Like that was good. Like it's just, I don't know. There's something about it and the camaraderie that comes around it. And like you said, it's mesmerizing in general. And the kids are usually off playing, and we've done movie nights too for like the kids. Sometimes we'll do a movie night for the kids, and then us adults will have a campfire. There's lots of ways of going about it.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm going to be like the most chillest dad because I love kids movies anyway. Like that's like my first go-to. I watched Lego Batman Alone the other day. Didn't care. Loved it. I was laughing so hard.
Good for you. I'd probably be my husband.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many. There's so much adult humor now that they do it on purpose, right? And a lot of kids just like over their head. They have no idea what just happened. And I consider myself pretty high intellectual on the humor level, and but I'm also like, you can be dumb humor. I'll laugh too. But like, I usually catch stuff way before everybody else. And so I appreciate kids movies. So it'd be no problem for me.
There you go. You can hang out with the kids at the fire.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. They say the darndest things anyway. I'm totally about that.
That's very true. Yeah. Very true.
How do you guys like manage conflicts a little bit, squabbles? Because that happens all the time. You said snacks, but you can't do that every time, right? So are there certain ways to go like, hey, you get quiet time? Is there corners in the RV that you go stand in that corner? Kind of curious.
In the RV, I would just say, a lot of time it's just like through communication, specifically with that kid. And again, like knowing that kid best. A lot of the time it's that we have been cooped up too long and we just need to get outside. Honestly, that's one of my like biggest things I tell people all the time is like outside is sometimes a miracle worker. And like, I can tell like my oldest, who's like a mover and a shaker, like I said, like he was a large reason we knew this lifestyle was like, we just felt like this lifestyle would be a good choice is because he is so like just action oriented in everything he does, and so I feel like a lot of the time it's like, okay, let's just get out and like take a walk. And that sometimes solves all the world's issues, but sometimes it's as simple as that. And then we can come back with a clear head, right? Like just like take a step away. So it just depends. I feel like we handle things the same way we would have and did in our house. It's just a smaller space, but that's always my number one go-to is usually let's just take a step away and like get outside. And sometimes that solves more than you think it will.
I believe it because like sometimes like sitting at work here, I know I offer it up like to people that are stressing. You can see just their anxieties like just through the roof. Like let's just go walk around the block. Let's just go talk about something else. Yes. And they usually come back. They're like, man, thanks. That was great. I'm like, yeah, totally. It's amazing. Just break up the pattern just a little bit and it'll make things just a little bit.
My kids will fight me on it sometimes. Yeah, they'll be like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, let's just try. Let's just try.
That's too
and then by the end, they come back and I'm like, we're chatting. It's great. And I'm like, see how much just like better your body feels. You're calm. You can think clearly. Or sometimes they just eat food. Like sometimes it's just the basics.
Yep.
But yeah.
Question: Are you one of the grounding people? Like feet on the ground?
I walk barefoot pretty much everywhere. I love being barefoot. Otherwise, I've got earth runners. I'm not sure if you've heard of those, but those are pretty much the only shoes that I wear. They've got a grounding plug in them. They're sandals, like barefoot sandals with a grounding plug. It's a copper grounding plug. And they're amazing. I wear them hiking. I wear them, you can ask my husband, I would say 99.9% of the time, unless somebody forces my toes into like a closed-toed shoe and it's like really cold or something. Like those are the only things I wear.
You said Earth Runner?
And my kids too were big on Earth Runner. Yep, Earth Runner.
I'm checking them out.
And I mean, I try the same with my kids, like as much as you can, like get out there and get barefoot because there's so many benefits to that. For them when it comes to, development, motor skill, there's so many, mental health, all the things.
These are not cheap. These are not cheap at all.
They're great though.
I have grounding sheets. I have grounding sheets. Mine are like all silver. Like I have my bed sheet is silver and it's got I'm a firm believer. Like I get the energy out of me because or like just recharge me because personally I think there's some real reality to it. But they have studies shown that it does work, so I'm not going to deny it. I'm going to check those out even more. So Earth Runners, cool, very cool. Speaking about RV maintenance, your kids, the girl is she's pretty young yet, but the kiddo, he's 8 now. Does he? I guess when it comes to like RV maintenance or anything like even cleaning, do you guys involve them in the process of any of that? And how do they enjoy that?
Yeah. So, my daughter's like my little shadow. She'll try and involve herself in whatever I'm doing, if she can. So, sometimes she'll help, pick things up or whatever it is. I'm thinking like travel days specifically. It kind of depends on the travel day. If my kids have a lot of like friends around, and they're busy and occupied with them, we don't really make them help us too much at this point. Like if they're kind of out of the rig and we can just focus, that's fine. That's help enough. On days where we're like together as a family and there's not, as many distractions, then we'll encourage them to participate like in helping, just prep for the travel day. When it comes to just things in general, my son is like a little shadow to my husband a lot of the time. And he loves going up on the roof, honestly, and like helping clean off solar panels or helping, watch dad put the Starlink up. I think that's like a fun little trip for him. He feels like a total big boy. Not so interested in any of like the sewer stuff or anything like that. Although we just had our tanks cleaned the other day and both my kids were intrigued by that. So it kind of just depends. We try and include them in what they want to be included in. And like, if we need help, we'll ask. We're big on like teamwork as much as possible. But they're both still little enough in my eyes that like, if it's a travel day and they're busy with friends, I'm probably not going to interrupt them too much aside from like, hey, make sure your room's cleaned up. From that, especially if we're leaving, so it just kind of depends.
Yeah. They're working on it. They're still at a young age. They'll probably into it more as they go for sure. Just a question I wanted to ask. So, moving on to our last segment here, really. I guess there's 2 more segments there. This is a good one. I really like this. I read through this beforehand and I was like, yeah, this is a good one. I like you. Fun RV destinations for kiddos and like activities for families in general. Do you guys have like, I know Sun Outdoors is a huge one. 1,000 Trails are kind of like hit or miss. It sounds like from what I've gathered. But what about like regular RV parks, national parks, whatever it may be that you guys are staying? It sounds like you guys do a lot of outdoor stuff, hiking, specifically. It sounds like. What are some of like the most favorite kid-friendly campgrounds or RV parks that you've been to?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. Sometimes it depends who you're with. I feel like there's so many things I could say about that because a lot of it, like even memories, it's like who we were with sometimes makes it more than the place itself, and sometimes the places are wonderful too. But we do a lot of 1,000 Trails. And honestly, that's where we've met the most families. And I think that's what I love it for. We've been to other great campgrounds too, but I would say predominantly for us, just in terms of camping, we stay within 1,000 trails. We boondock. I mean, we're very, very, like, our goal is usually to spend zero budget on camping and to spend as much as we can on, not as much as we can, but like to spend that money on experiences first. Like, that's usually our family's goal. So, we've done like a few hosted stays and things like that with resorts, but we generally don't stay at resorts because we just would rather use that money toward experiences and other ways. Or we're real budget conscious. So that's kind of how we do that. And my kids, honestly, like, I feel like they're super content, again, at a campground where they can just dig in the dirt or the sand. Like, we were just at like 1,000 Trails Orlando recently, and we were in like a sandy spot, and the kids were just digging holes in the sand. Like, that's all they needed. Like, they needed each other and the sand, and they were completely content. And so, I feel like I have to remind myself about that often, is like, my kids care less than me usually about the places I select to go, as long as like there's something there for them to do, and there's like, friends or family around. Like, their needs are usually quite minimal, in terms of like, they don't need the flashy things, I guess is what I'm saying. In terms of places, I would say two things. I mean, we love national parks, state parks, anything outdoors, really. We're big outdoors people, like I said. And I feel like my kiddo is one that, like, my oldest especially, he just wants to climb. So if we can climb rocks, boulders, trees, like, if that's there, I mean, if he can get in the water and sort, whatever it is, like, if he can be, if I just take him on a normal path, he's bored usually. Like, it could be a beautiful hike with scenery, but if it's a flat path, he's like, this isn't it, Mom. He like loves to just be challenged. Like, we did a really cool ladders hike near Palm Desert, Palm Springs. I'm trying to remember, Painted Canyon, I think is what it is, where you like climb ladders and there's like ropes you go down. I'm not sure if you've been to it, but I think it was like 5 or 6 miles. I actually carried my toddler on my back the whole way, which was quite the feat. But he loved it. Like, it was just so great because it was like real life chutes and ladders. So things like that are like what my kids are all about. But then also, like, I would highly recommend to families getting something called like a reciprocal museum pass. I don't know if people have talked about that before, but that's, it's like a travel museum membership. You can get it through lots of different places. We get ours through Kern County in Bakersfield, California. I think a lot of full-time families do. And basically, it's like $100 and something, I want to say, for the year. And you get access to like hundreds of museums across the country, like ASTC museums, like science ones, children's museums. The North American, I think, is Reciprocal Museum is what it stands for, NARM membership. So like that gets us into all these different museums. I mean, we pay a fee of like $100 and something, but if you think about it, we've been to some of these museums where like they would charge us $25 a pop. So we pay it off in like one museum. And so I'll usually, when we get to a place, look and see, I'll check their reciprocal list to see what's in the area, and we'll try to take advantage of those as well, because then they're basically free to us. And so we do that a lot with friends too. And you can get other reciprocals as well. There's zoo ones, there's aquarium ones. But if you are full timing, like that's huge because you're actually taking advantage of it most of the time because you are traveling around. And so that's been really great for us too, to be able to just like experience different museums across the country, from children's museums to, we were even able to go to like the mansions in like Rhode Island, like the most random things are part of it. Botanical gardens, like you just never know. So
really,
we like that.
I never heard of that. Never heard of that. So I appreciate that little nugget. I learn something new basically every conversation that I have. So that's a good one. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you have a cool job.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I appreciate my job. Yeah, it's like, hey, what I mean, I did it anyway for sales, right? But the one thing about sales that I didn't like, I got pretty good at sales. I've been rookie of the year at 2 different places. I was not technically rookie of the year here, but I was number 2 overall in sales numbers. I was very upset. Whatever. Moving on. Anywho, we had anyway. Like the one thing I didn't like about sales is I just get into it's a presentation. Like it doesn't matter which way it goes. If it veers off of it, I'm saying the exact same thing every single time. I'm a robot and I am lethal. Like, it's not like I'm being like a bad person. Like, you came to me, you walked in my door, like, you obviously want it. Let's forget about that. Like, get rid of it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you still ask the questions, but like, really, I'm having a conversation with you, figuring out what do you like? What about you? What do you do? What are you going to do tomorrow? You know, like I kind of forget about the sale and I bring it back, but the presentation of it all, this is much more fun because I've only read this once, and I'll probably never do it again. So let's move on. Next thing, it's just kind of more fun for me. It's a whole new experience every single time, and I still get to talk to people. It's one of my favorite things to do. So sweet. Sweet. Yeah, that one, especially the Chutes and Ladders place. What was that name again on that?
I think it's Painted Canyon. It's near Palm Desert, California. But it's called like the Ropes and Ladders Trail or Ladders Trail. It's something like that.
Well,
it's great. There's a lot to do actually in the Palm Springs area.
It's Palm Springs in general. There's, I think I'd like it out there. Yeah. It's like, that's Joshua Tree-esque, right? Ish.
Yeah. Same vicinity.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I need to spend more time out there. All I got to do is just buy an RV and leave. That's what I got to do. I have the okay to do so. I'm just waiting a little bit. Okay. Cool.
Do it.
Yeah. I'll get there. Okay, let's see here. The last section here is troubleshooting common family RVing issues. And I wonder, so yeah, this is good. What are some of like the toughest challenges that you've had since RVing with your kids? I mean, obviously, you were pregnant when you started, right? So that was obviously a tough challenge, like figuring out how to be a newborn mother all over again in a different situation on the road. There's a totally different animal versus, I'm at home. I have this amount of leave to be here. So that's one of them. I'm assuming, pardon me if I'm assuming incorrectly, but what are some of your other toughest challenges that you faced while RVing with your kids?
Gosh, it's a good one. I think a lot of this is just like finding balance. So like I talked about before, like my husband and I could drive for hours and we'd be content having conversations and like, we can, as adults, I think we can just go more and, like it doesn't, we still need rest, but it's different with kids. Like you just can't go. And so I am inherently like an adventurer. Like I want to see all the things. I get FOMO. Like I make a list and I'm like, let's do it. And my kids are like, we just want to hang out at home. Like they'll do it, but like they don't have that same drive sometimes, or it's just different. It's a different drive. And so I think it's really like with kids, you learn a lot faster. You have to find that balance. And like, it's not a sprint. It's like more of a marathon. And so like we generally stay in places for at least 2 to 3 weeks if we can, because we have to balance like adventure with downtime. And that can be hard for me sometimes because I want to see all the things, but like sometimes I don't get to see all the things and that's okay. But also like I've found my family functions best. Like if we have a busy day, then the next day my kids need a down day. Like they're not going to be gunning to like go back and do all the things again. Like they just almost need that time. And so sometimes I feel like that can be a bit of like just a balance challenge in figuring that out, like almost like what everybody's needs and wants are. And then also, even like dealing with like seasons, like my kids are littler, they go to bed at an earlier time. Like we've traveled with families that have older kids. And like, I think even going along with that, like they're going out to dinner because their kids are old enough, to like watch themselves, or they're staying out later and, taking their kids to see the sunset. And I'm like, well, if I did that all the time, my 3-year-old would lose her mind, right? Like for a few days because she needs to sleep, or she can't do maybe like, we can't do 2 hikes or 3 hikes in a row. Like maybe this family can. And so also recognizing like the place that you're in and like not playing that compare game and just like being accepting of like, this is my season with littles and like, it's a beautiful season and I don't want to wish it away. And like, there are wonderful parts about it, like being in this season, and there's wonderful parts about the next season. And And then too, I would say just like basic things, like even like down to like, we've had seasons where we needed to like have my son evaluated for something, or like things like that, where it's like medical things you also have to think about are just a little bit different on the road. And just always making sure that like, I'm never letting this lifestyle get in the way of making sure my kids' health is the top priority. That was what we went into it for, right? Like we wanted to make sure we were thinking about like their mental health and their learning and all of this, but also like that physical health or whatever it is. Like it's a gift in some ways, because we can go wherever we want in the country if we, need to see somebody specific, but also it's tricky because we just are always in a different place. And so, sometimes those can be like, if you do have a kiddo that needs that has medical needs, or that has a special, need for therapy or something, that can be trickier on the road. You have to get a little bit more creative.
Yeah, most definitely. It comes with all sorts of different challenges. I mean, just because you're mobile, right? I've heard, people with just medications in general, right? Or seeing, your regular doctor, well, hey, my script is over, but like, you got to come back in. Like, it's kind of hard to change that around. I heard diabetics have issues because of that reason. And then there's, obviously there's other ones as well that have, similar issues, or just the issue of getting the script again is, another problem, or timing up someone that has any sort of, medical condition where they have to stop in somewhere new every time. Like, well, you can't, it's hard to transfer records and do all that. So, but to live that lifestyle, I guess that's one of the biggest challenges. But question for you as a parent, and then as a significant other to your spouse, how do you guys stay calm and patient during stressful moments on the road? Because again, you don't really get that one-on-one, if not alone time in general. Shower, eucalyptus, whatever. Tea, like whatever it is. Just how do you go about like staying calm, or just like relaxing, being patient? How do you go about doing that while on the road?
Yeah, I think Ryan and I probably handle it in different ways, because like we relax differently sometimes. We each have our things. Honestly, we're not perfect at it. I'll put that out there first. Yeah. We have our days, we have our moments for sure. I think I've learned a lot just over the years as a parent to identify my own like stress meter. And like, sometimes I can sense myself getting to that limit, and I'll try and let him know like, hey, I am about to hit my limit, and I am not going to be my best version of a parent when I pass that limit. Right. And so I think I just need to like go for a walk, or I just need a moment, or whatever it is. Can you help me? Especially because we're constantly, like I told you before, like even today, it was like, he's on a meeting, I'm going to this meeting. Like, we're constantly playing that team. And so normally we're good at it, but like, it's easy to just, it's a lot some days, And so I think just asking for help as we need it. Like I just even told you, like, we knew we really needed time to reconnect as a couple. And so I called my mom, and I recognize this is a privilege, but I was like, I need you, if you can, to fly down and hang out with our kids. Like, we just really need a weekend away, and like just trying to recognize those moments. And it was a huge blessing she was willing to do it. And I'm so grateful for it. But like, that was life-giving to us to have those 2 days. But even just me telling him that, and, I take a walk every night after I put my daughter down. I put my daughter down, he puts my son down usually. And so after I put her down, she goes down first, I'll take a walk. And that's when I listen to podcasts, like the RV voice, right? And like, I feel like that though is a time for me to just chill. Yeah. And do my thing. And so it's infusing those little moments in the day for myself when I can, and things that I enjoy, but also just asking, not being afraid and not feeling guilty for like asking for help from my spouse or whoever when I need it is huge. Like just recognizing when I'm hitting that wall.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said earlier, it's your number one priority is the kids, right? That's the whole deal of like why you started it, because your oldest is an adventurer spirit, and so are you. So he got that a lot from you, I'm sure. And then, you got to be your best self to make their lives their best. Right. So
100. Yeah.
Sacrificial and selfless. Right. But you chose to have, that's just part of it, being a parent. Right.
Yeah. That's being a parent for sure.
Someday we'll get there. But Very cool, Krista. I think this has been a wonderful conversation. Learned a lot of new things. Wrapping it up, traveling with kids is not easy. You took the hard route. You took the harder route more than most people. They're like, I'm going to do it when I'm halfway pregnant. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Then it looked easier, right? After that, I started hard, and then I was like, "Yeah, I got it now, right?"
This is a breeze from here on. Yeah, most people would call you crazy for something like that.
It might have been, but it worked out.
Absolutely. You're still crushing it through almost 4 years later, still doing great. Kiddo's doing great. That's all she's ever known. She's going to be a wanderlust. She's going to be the van lifer. I bet you that's what's going to happen. Or she might not. Or maybe she get in a high-rise apartment in some big town. I don't know. Who's to know? It's the future's, she's got the world's her oyster. You never know what's going to happen. But anything that you'd like to hit on before, we kind of move on, close it out?
I don't think so. I feel like we talked about a lot. I mean, I think last thing I would just say is when people ask my kids, where are you from? Right. Or wherever, they say everywhere. And I just think it's such a beautiful, that my son started that. I never told him that, but I think it's just such a cool thing that that's what they identify with. This is their home. They know it's their home, but it goes everywhere, and their backyards are changing, but they still have a home. They still have a routine, but that's where they live. And that's super cool in my opinion. And it's been such a gift for all of us, truly. I think people, think is it challenging? For sure. Are there hard days? For sure. But it's never boring with kids on the road, right? My husband will stand out sometimes and he'll just watch the retired couples waxing their rigs all day long. And he's like, I wish whoa, I can't imagine, all this, but it's our life is never boring, I'm just saying to have that time, but our life is never boring. And it's such a beautiful gift to be able to have our kids with us and do this while we're young, they're young. And we have all of these really cool core just memories together that we're making, from chutes and ladders to we got to touch gray whales in Baja. Who gets to do that? I just feel there's just so many things that I never imagined I would be able to do in my life, and now my 3-year-old's experienced more in her 3 years than I did in my first 30, and now I get to do that all with my kids. So I just want to put that out there as if we can do it and I can launch while we're pregnant, you truly can do it if it's something you want with your kids. And I always just try and encourage people. I recognize it's not for everyone, but if it's something you're dreaming about, go for it. We've never regretted it.
That's completely wonderful, because there's a lot of people why you wait until now, or when I'm retired, or they have the kids, why do that with kids? But these kids, in my opinion, like you said, your son said, where are we from? I'm from everywhere. That's freaking cool. I think these kids are going to come out so damn well-rounded. The education system is his own thing, which I don't really 100% agree with, but that's another conversation for another day. So these kids that are learning constantly while they're on the road, learning from different areas, meeting people from XYZ, meeting people from the other side of the states, meeting people from not even the states itself. And then they're going around and seeing all these different places and learning about them in all different ways. They're going to be doing pretty good when they're coming out, and they're going to be a different type of maturity by that time, and I think there's no timeline for anything by no means. So I think it's super cool that you're doing that. And then you're doing it as well, being, I don't know your age, nor do I need to know, but I'm 32 and I want to do so, I want to do that. I've done a lot for my age, and people are like, you're always going somewhere and doing that. I'm like, why not? Why would you not want to go see Europe? Go to Europe. I went down to the southern tip of Patagonia, literally. It was South America 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And I was literally within a couple hundred miles of, it was almost 600 miles from Antarctica. It was damn cold. The wind was blowing like hell, but it was Like, why not? Like, what does it matter? Like, why stay in one spot, stay in one town, stay in one zip code and never leave? Like, there's so many more things to experience in life than just chilling and doing nothing. And like you said, your 3-year-old's seen more than you've done in 30 years. Like, it's completely doable. There's 100,000 ways to make money on the road. You can figure it out. You don't need the same coffee shop every morning. Get to find cooler coffee shops out there, You know what I mean?
Yes, like I do. That's why we're doing it.
Absolutely. Well, Krista, this has been an absolute wonderful conversation. Love to have you back on because we did talk about doing another one, so we can kind of set that up for later. But we're getting to the point where it's a little bit long. So I think this is it. So if you don't mind, did you get my message?
I did.
Yeah. Well,
stay tuned for more from the RV Boys.
Yes. Woo! Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for everybody. And you heard her. Stay tuned for more.
Sounds great. Looking forward to another chat, sir.